Alina's private quarters aboard the Concord diplomatic station reflected the status humans held in galactic society, functional but lacking the spacious luxury afforded to the founding species. She reviewed the day's proceedings on her neural interface, while a small service drone prepared her evening tea. The bitter aroma reminded her of Earth's mountain regions, a scent that kept her centered during increasingly frustrating negotiations. "Display latest communication from Earth Command," she instructed her terminal. Admiral Santiago's weathered face appeared, his expression betraying concern despite his attempt at diplomatic neutrality. "Ambassador Chen, your reports regarding the Jupiter-Moon situation are troubling. The Security Council has reviewed your assessment and wishes to express continued support for diplomatic resolution." Santiago paused, choosing his words carefully. "However, we've authorized implementation of Protocol Sunrise should conditions deteriorate further." Alina's eyebrows raised slightly. Protocol Sunrise represented a significant shift in Earth's approach, not yet abandonment of diplomatic channels, but preparation for alternative responses. It marked only the third time in human-Concord relations that the protocol had been mentioned. "Understood, Admiral. Let's hope it doesn't come to that." She ended the transmission and turned toward the viewport overlooking the vast Concord Central Hub. Ships from 17 species traversed the carefully regulated traffic patterns, human vessels noticeably smaller and fewer among them. Her neural interface pinged with a notification from Dr. Kazuo Yamamoto, Earth's leading xenobiologist and her unofficial intelligence source within the Concord Scientific Exchange. "The Eldar research team has requested complete access to our atmospheric modification research, the third such request this month. Their justification remains cross-species scientific collaboration. Should I continue delaying with technical complications?" Alina sighed. The pattern was becoming predictable. Human innovations requested for collaborative study, only to emerge months later as Concord developments, with crucial patents controlled by Eldar consortiums. Earth received minor acknowledgments and minimal compensation, while the benefits flowed primarily to the founding species. "Maintain delay protocols," she replied. "Cite integration incompatibilities with their existing systems." A soft chime announced an unexpected visitor. Alina composed herself, straightening her formal diplomatic attire before authorizing entry. The door slid open to reveal Nexel, the junior representative of the Voltar Trading Confederacy, one of the few Concord species that maintained genuinely fair exchanges with humanity. "Representative Nexel, this is unexpected." Elena offered the traditional Voltar greeting, pressing her palms together at chest level. The amphibious diplomat's gill flaps pulsed with subtle anxiety. "Ambassador Chen, I come unofficially. Information has reached Voltar channels regarding the Proxima Centauri situation." Nexel's large eyes blinked rapidly. "The Eldar Council has already drafted their response before your formal request has even been submitted." Elena maintained her diplomatic composure despite the surge of anger this revelation triggered. "They've predetermined their response. On what grounds?" "The draft cites developmental jurisdiction protocols and evolutionary guidance principles. They're standard justifications for denying assistance." Nexel moved closer, lowering his voice. "But there's more. The Eldar High Council has classified human quantum communication technology as a stability concern. They intend to use this crisis as leverage to gain control of it." Alina's hand tightened around her teacup, her knuckles whitening. 73 years of human patience, of diplomatic deference, of accepting junior status despite contributing crucial innovations to the Concord. And now they would use dying human colonists as bargaining chips. "Thank you, Nexel. The Voltar's friendship will not be forgotten." As the alien departed, Alina activated her secure Earth channel. "Connect me to Admiral Santiago. Authorization Chen Delta 7. Priority 1. The time for unlimited patience had just expired. Governor Wei's holographic image flickered again as the connection struggled against Proxima Centauri's deteriorating atmospheric conditions. His normally composed features showed signs of strain. Deep circles beneath his eyes and tension lines around his mouth betrayed sleepless nights. The medical facilities are at capacity, Ambassador. Our environmental engineers have developed a temporary filtration solution, but without the specialized atmospheric stabilizers, it's merely buying us time. He rubbed his temple, a gesture of frustration Alina had never seen from the usually stoic administrator. The children and elderly are showing early symptoms of cascade respiratory syndrome. We need those stabilizers. Alina nodded grimly. The council session is scheduled for next week. I've exhausted every procedural option to expedite the process. Next week may be too late for some of our people, White responded, his voice dropping. Alina, you need to understand. We're recording neural degradation in the worst affected patients. If this continues, he left the sentence unfinished. After the transmission ended, Alina sat motionless, processing the information. Cascade respiratory syndrome led to permanent neural damage if untreated. Children with developing brains were particularly vulnerable. Her quarters door chimed, announcing the arrival of Dr. Kimberly Okafor, Earth's medical liaison to the Concord Health Exchange. The doctor's expression was thunderous as she entered. Tell me you've seen the Proxima medical data, she demanded without preamble. Alina gestured toward her display. Governor Wee just updated me. This isn't a natural progression. Okafor's fingers danced across her medical tablet, bringing up comparison charts. I've analyzed atmospheric degradation patterns across 17 human and non-human colonies. The Proxima situation shows distinct markers of deliberate contamination. Alina's blood ran cold. You're suggesting sabotage. I'm stating it outright. Okafor's voice was steel. These particulate distributions don't occur naturally. Someone introduced tailored compounds into the atmospheric processors. The degradation rate is precisely calculated to cause maximum pressure while remaining technically survivable. Before Alina could respond, her secure channel activated. Admiral Santiago's face appeared, his expression grave. Ambassador, Earth intelligence has intercepted communications between the Eldar Inner Council and their representatives at Proxima. The situation is engineered. They're creating a crisis to force technology concessions. Alina felt something shift inside her, a fundamental change in her understanding of humanity's place in the galactic community. For years, she had attributed Concord obstruction to cultural differences and institutional inertia. Now, facing evidence of calculated harm against human civilians, that interpretation shattered. Admiral, what's the status of the emergency response fleet? She asked, her voice unnaturally calm. On standby near Neptune's orbit, awaiting Concord clearance as per protocol. Santiago's expression suggested he already knew what her next words would be. Redirect them to Proxima Centauri immediately. No more waiting for Concord permission. Santiago nodded, unsurprised. The Security Council anticipated this. The fleet commander has sealed orders authorizing exactly that action under specific conditions that have now been met. They're already underway. Later that day, Alina entered the private chamber where Tilaris waited with his characteristic smile of superiority. The Eldar diplomat began his rehearsed speech about procedural necessities and appropriate channels, but faltered when he noticed something different in the human ambassador's demeanor. Ambassador Tilaris, Alina interrupted, her voice carrying a new edge that made the ancient diplomat pause. Earth has rendered its decision. We've chosen to prioritize our people's survival over Concord protocols. The Eldar's expression shifted from confusion to disbelief. You've what? An Earth medical fleet is currently en route to Proxima Centauri. This isn't a request for permission. It's a courtesy notification. For the first time in their long acquaintance, Tilaris found himself at a loss for words. Admiral Tanaka surveyed the holographic display dominating the Olympus Mons command center. Hundreds of ships moved in precise formation across the solar system. Vessels that had never appeared on any registry shared with the Concord. The culmination of decades of hidden preparation was unfolding with methodical precision. Status report on the stealth shield integration. he requested, his calm voice belying the gravity of the situation. Commander Sofia Rodriguez, head of Special Projects Division, stepped forward. 97% of the fleet is now equipped with the quantum displacement technology. The remaining vessels will be upgraded within 12 hours. And the Proxima Centauri relief mission. The medical fleet has established orbital position. Governor Wei reports the atmospheric stabilizers are being deployed. Initial medical treatments have begun for the most severely affected patients. Rodriguez hesitated before adding, the Eldar diplomatic vessel attempted to blockade the medical ships. They retreated when our escort frigates deployed active targeting systems. Tanaka nodded thoughtfully. Their first direct confirmation that we've been developing military technology beyond their approved parameters. Should we expect military response, Admiral? Asked Colonel Chen, the Strategic Operations Officer. Not immediately. The Eldar rely on consensus from the Concord Security Council before military action. That process typically requires 17 days. Tanaka's expression remained impassive. By that time, Operation Daybreak will be fully implemented. On the other side of the solar system, beneath the icy crust of Europa, Engineer Maya Singh directed the final activation sequence for the Jupiter Defense Grid, a network of weapons platforms disguised as research stations. Similar activations occurred throughout human space, each facility carefully hidden from Concord observation for decades. We've maintained the illusion of compliance for 73 years, Singh remarked to her second-in-command as they watched power signatures stabilize across the network. Do you think the Eldar ever suspected? Their fundamental mistake was believing their own propaganda. He checked the final diagnostic readouts. They convinced themselves we were technologically dependent, culturally naive, and militarily primitive, a convenient fiction that allowed them to dismiss us. Meanwhile, at the diplomatic compound on Mars, representatives from 30 human colonies gathered for an unprecedented closed session. Security measures beyond anything previously employed ensured no surveillance from Concord sources. United Earth Governor Kwan addressed the assembly. For 3 generations, we've pursued integration with the galactic community through diplomatic channels. We've accepted restrictive technology treaties, limited colonial expansion, and endured systematic economic disadvantage. We believed patience would eventually earn us equal standing. The chamber remained silent as Kwan continued. The deliberate attack on Proxima Centauri demonstrates the futility of this approach. The Eldar and their allies have no intention of accepting humanity as equals. They view us as resources to be managed and exploited. From the colonial delegates came murmurs of agreement. The evidence compiled by Earth intelligence was irrefutable. The Security Council has authorized the implementation of the Phoenix Protocol, Kwan announced, invoking the emergency measure developed but never before activated. All colonial administrations will transition to independent defense posture. All Concord observers will be confined to diplomatic compounds pending reassessment of their status. Across the solar system and beyond, human outposts executed precisely coordinated protocols. Concord liaison officers found themselves politely but firmly restricted to designated areas. Trade ships completed final deliveries before disappearing from established routes. Communication channels carried only automated diplomatic messages, while actual human instructions traveled via the quantum network invisible to Concord monitoring. Throughout human space, carefully maintained facades fell away to reveal the reality beneath. Humanity had never been as compliant, as technologically dependent, or as militarily vulnerable as the Concord believed. The sleeping giant had not only awoken, it had been awake and preparing all along. The Concord Council chamber fell into stunned silence as Elena completed her address. The terms she had presented hung in the air, displayed on the central holographic matrix for all representatives to see. Only the soft hum of environmental systems broke the quiet as 17 species processed the sudden shift in galactic power dynamics. High Counselor Zextrol of the Mizari was the first to respond, her compound eyes reflecting the chamber's ambient light as she leaned forward. Representative Chen, while your concerns may have merit, The approach you've taken represents an unprecedented breach of Concord protocols. The Council cannot be compelled to. With respect, Counselor, Elena interrupted smoothly. This is not a negotiation. It is a notification. The deployment of human vessels throughout Concord space is not intended as a threat, but as a demonstration of reality. Behind her, a new holographic display activated, showing real-time positions of previously undetected human ships near crucial Concord installations, observation posts, jump gates, communication hubs, and defense platforms. The strategic implications were unmistakable. Tuleris rose from his seat, mandible ridges flushing with the pale blue of elder agitation. This display of military aggression violates every principle off. No weapons are deployed. Admiral Tanaka interjected from his holographic position beside Elena. No targeting systems are active. We have simply revealed our presence. Defense Minister Krell of the militaristic Dorn hegemony studied the tactical display with professional interest. Impressive positioning. Your vessels would be capable of disabling critical infrastructure before our defense fleet could respond. The massive reptilian scales rippled in what his species recognized as reluctant admiration, a strategy of remarkable elegance. We've maintained these capabilities for decades, Elena explained, her voice level. Not for conquest or aggression, but as insurance against exactly the kind of exploitation demonstrated at Proxima Centauri. Ambassador Nilith of the philosophical Tellurians tilted her slender head. You possessed such advantage yet never employed it until now, even when denied resources in territories that were rightfully yours under established precedent. Patience is a human virtue, Elena replied. So is justice. The former has limits, the latter does not. Tuleris attempted to activate the emergency security protocols, but his console remained unresponsive. Throughout the chamber, similar realizations dawned as species representatives discovered that only basic communication functions remained operational. The Concord Defense Fleet, began the Eldar High Counselor, his composure cracking. Is currently experiencing a comprehensive systems recalibration. Admiral Tanaka finished for him. A new holographic display showed Concord military vessels drifting in formation, their power systems cycling through automated diagnostic sequences. For decades, human engineers have maintained your fleet's central command protocols. Did you never question why we accepted such seemingly menial roles? The implications cascaded through the chamber. The Mizari delegates chittered nervously to each other. The Volta representatives exchanged knowing glances. They had long suspected human capabilities exceeded Concord estimates. The Dorn military attaches studied the tactical displays with growing concern. We could have disabled your defensive capabilities permanently, Elena noted, her voice softening slightly. Instead, systems will restore to full functionality after 72 hours, sufficient time for proper consideration of our terms. She gestured toward the medical data still displayed from her earlier presentation. While you deliberate, human medical teams are treating those affected at Proxima Centauri. Similar humanitarian assistance is available to any Concord world facing ecological or medical crisis. Our dispute is with policies, not people. The statement hung in the air, a demonstration of both power and restraint that resonated with many of the non-elder species who had themselves felt the subtle weight of elder dominance over centuries. 72 hours, Elena reiterated, gathering her materials. The Sol Alliance awaits your response. The emergency session of the Eldar High Command portrayed a species in crisis. For millennia, the eldest spacefaring race had maintained their position through careful manipulation of interstellar politics. Now, their carefully constructed hierarchy teetered on the edge of collapse. We cannot yield to human demands, insisted elder strategist Selar, his weathered face contorted with indignation. To accept their terms would invite similar challenges from the Voltar, the Mizari, perhaps even the Tellurians. The entire foundation of Concord authority would crumble. Fleet Commander Theris projected the latest intelligence onto the central display. Our options are limited. Human vessels have positioned themselves at 97% of our critical infrastructure nodes. The defense grid remains unresponsive to our override commands. Even if we regain control after their 72-hour window, they've demonstrated the ability to implement similar measures at will. A younger Eldar diplomat, Narava, spoke with uncharacteristic directness. Perhaps we should consider that our position has already fundamentally changed. The humans have possessed these capabilities for years, yet used them only after direct provocation. You suggest we simply capitulate. Sealer's voice dripped with disdain. I suggest we adapt to reality, Narava countered. The humans have outmaneuvered us through patience and strategic foresight, qualities we claimed they lacked. Their restraint demonstrates a maturity we refuse to acknowledge. Meanwhile, in the secure conference facility aboard the human diplomatic vessel Concordia *, Elena met with representatives from 7 non-Eldar Concord species. The unofficial gathering had been requested by the Mizari and Voltar ambassadors within hours of her council presentation. Ambassador Kielvor of the Voltar Trade Confederation tapped his webbed fingers thoughtfully against the polished table. The Voltar have long suspected human technological capabilities exceeded Concord estimates. Your species possesses a unique capacity for innovation under constraint. What interests us, added Zextrol of the Mizari, is why you chose this particular moment to reveal your position. The Proxima Centauri situation, while regrettable, is hardly the first instance of Eldar manipulation. Elena activated a secure data node, presenting evidence compiled by Earth intelligence. The Proxima operation was merely the visible component of a larger Eldar initiative. Our analysts identified coordinated attempts to compromise human quantum communication networks on 7 colonies. The Proxima environmental sabotage was timed to create maximum leverage. The evidence triggered ripples of concern among the assembled representatives. The Tellarian delegate, known for their species' dedication to legal principle, studied the data with particular intensity. These actions violate 16 separate Concord conventions, the Tellarian noted. Were similar operations conducted against your own species? Several delegates exchanged uncomfortable glances. The implication hung in the air. If the Eldar had targeted humans so directly, what actions might they have taken against other junior species over the centuries? The Sol Alliance proposal offers an alternative to Eldar dominance without creating a power vacuum. Elena continued. The cooperative framework we've proposed distributes authority more equitably among all spacefaring civilizations. Ambassador Thex of the Mercantile Halcyon Guilds leaned forward. Your terms mentioned unrestricted development rights within human territories. Would similar autonomy extend to other signatory species? Absolutely, Elena confirmed. The fundamental principle is sovereignty within recognized borders, with shared oversight of common resources. As the meeting progressed, the mood shifted from cautious evaluation to active engagement. Species that had competed for Eldar favor for centuries began exploring possibilities for genuine cooperation. The Mizari proposed integrated research initiatives. The Voltar suggested streamlined trade protocols. The Tellarians outlined judicial frameworks that would provide equal protection to all member species. By the time the session concluded, the foundations of a new interstellar order had begun to take shape, not through human dominance, but through the collaborative potential unleashed when artificial hierarchies dissolved. The medical complex on Proxima Centauri operated at full capacity as Earth physicians worked alongside specialists from 4 allied species. What had begun as an emergency intervention had evolved into a collaborative research initiative, with medical teams developing treatments for the engineered contaminants, while environmental specialists implemented atmospheric restoration protocols. Dr. Okafor studied the latest molecular analysis with Professor Zivixal, the Mizari biochemist, whose species' unique perspective on compound interactions had proven invaluable. The precision of these molecular triggers is disturbing, Okafor noted, highlighting a particular sequence. They're designed to cause progressive neural deterioration while mimicking natural atmospheric degradation patterns. Yes, The Mizari scientist agreed, mandibles clicking thoughtfully. Such compounds require extensive testing to achieve this specific effect profile. This was not an improvised operation. Elena moved through the recovery ward where children affected by the contaminants received specialized treatment. Governor Wade joined her, his expression more hopeful than during their previous communications. The pediatric neurologists say most patients will make full recoveries, he informed her, voice low to avoid disturbing the young patients. If we'd waited for Concord approval. He left the sentence unfinished, but its implication hung heavily between them. The timing of the human intervention had prevented permanent neural damage in hundreds of children. The evidence recovery team has completed their analysis. White continued, guiding Elena to a secure briefing room. They've identified the delivery mechanism for the contaminants. The atmospheric regulation components installed by the Eldar technical team 3 months ago contained slow-release canisters. Elena's jaw tightened, completely consistent with the intelligence reports. Wei activated a secure display showing molecular comparison data. There's more. The compounds matched those found in unexplained atmospheric anomalies on Tav City Colony and New Bangalore. What we thought were unrelated environmental challenges may have been test runs for the Proxima operation. Before Elena could respond, her secure channel activated with an emergency notification. Representative Chen, this is Scientific Liaison Narava of the Eldar Research Directorate. I must speak with you immediately on a secure channel. Lives are at stake. The young Eldar appeared visibly distressed when the connection established. An unusual display of emotion for his typically reserved species. Representative Chen, I've taken an unauthorized action that would be considered treasonous by my government. I've transmitted comprehensive files from the Perpetuity Directorate's secure archives to your intelligence division. The Perpetuity Directorate? Elena asked, maintaining a neutral expression despite her surprise. A clandestine organization within Eldar governance structures, dedicated to maintaining our species' dominance by any means necessary. Narava's voice trembled slightly. I've been collecting evidence of their operations for decades, but the Proxima Centauri attack crossed a threshold I cannot ignore. The data package Narava provided proved more extensive than anything Earth intelligence had uncovered. It documented systematic operations against emerging species throughout Concord history, ecological sabotage, targeted disease outbreaks, economic manipulation, and technological suppression. The Perpetuity Directorate had operated for millennia, ensuring Eldar supremacy while maintaining plausible deniability for the official government. Most disturbing were the records of similar operations conducted against other Concord member species at critical development junctures. The Mizari's sudden technological plateau 3 centuries earlier. The Voltar genetic diversity crisis. The mysterious collapse of the promising Seratan civilization. All carefully engineered to prevent any species from approaching Eldar influence. There are others like me within Eldar society, Narava explained, his expression resolute despite his obvious fear. Scientists, diplomats, historians who've recognized the moral bankruptcy of these methods. We've worked in isolation, afraid to share what we know. Your actions have given us the courage to speak. As Elena processed this revelation, she faced a critical decision: how humanity would respond to this evidence of systematic manipulation spanning centuries. The orbital platform Genesis Station marked humanity's most ambitious construction project, a neutral diplomatic hub positioned at the former border between human and Concord space. Its central chamber hosted representatives from 32 species, many of whom had never been granted direct diplomatic recognition under Eldar protocols. Elena surveyed the gathering from a quiet observation deck. The Voltar delegation engaged in animated discussion with the aquatic Nedan, whose civilization had been classified as pre-spacefaring, despite their advanced biotechnology. The insectoid Mizari shared technical specifications with representatives of the crystalline lithomorphs, previously isolated due to their incompatible communication structures. Everywhere, barriers that had restricted interspecies cooperation for centuries dissolved through direct engagement. Admiral Tanaka joined her, his formal uniform replaced by the simpler diplomatic attire of the newly formed cooperative. The Tellarian judicial framework passed final ratification, he informed her. All member species will have equal standing before cooperative tribunals. Alina nodded her approval. And the technology exchange protocols, implemented across 17 initial research hubs. The quantum communication network now connects 29 member worlds, with expansion planned for the remaining 3. Below them, a heated exchange between a younger Eldar diplomat and a Dorn representative briefly escalated before resolving through the intervention of a Tellarian mediator. The process wasn't perfect, but it was genuine. Species interacting as equals rather than through the filtered hierarchy of Concord protocols. Some of the elder Eldar still refuse participation, Tanaka noted. They've retreated to their ancestral systems and severed communication. A predictable response to loss of privilege, Alina replied. But the younger generations are adapting remarkably well. Indeed, the Eldar contingent at Genesis Station consisted primarily of younger diplomats, scientists, and cultural observers, many of whom had quietly opposed the restrictive policies of their elders. Narava had emerged as their unofficial spokesperson, working tirelessly to integrate Eldar knowledge into cooperative frameworks while acknowledging the harms of past manipulation. Governor Wei approached them, accompanied by Professor Zivak Sol of the Mizari. The environmental restoration protocols developed at Proxima have been successfully implemented on New Damascus, Wei reported. The Mizari bioengineering adaptations improved efficiency by 37%. More significantly, added the Mizari scientist, we've identified similar contaminant patterns on 11 worlds across 7 species territories. The collaborative research team has developed targeted remediation techniques for each affected ecosystem. Alina processed this information with mixed emotions. The ecological sabotage had been more widespread than initially suspected, yet the response demonstrated the potential of genuine cooperation. Species that had competed under Concord restrictions now combined their unique perspectives to solve shared challenges. On the main floor, the central display activated to show a real-time visualization of the expanding quantum communication network. Each participating world appeared as a node in an increasingly complex web of instantaneous connection, the physical manifestation of the cooperative's foundational principle that information should flow freely between all member species. The Halcyon Guild's report trade volume has increased 63% since implementation of the standardized exchange protocols, Tanaka noted, reviewing data on his personal display. Even accounting for initial enthusiasm, that suggests the Concord restrictions suppressed natural economic development. Alina's gaze settled on a group of junior diplomats, human, Eldar, Voltar, Mizari, and representatives from 7 other species, engaged in earnest discussion of cultural exchange initiatives. They had never known a galaxy without artificial barriers between civilizations, yet adapted to new possibilities with remarkable ease. The transition has been smoother than our most optimistic projections, she observed. Perhaps the galaxy was ready for change long before we recognized it. Or perhaps, Tanaka suggested, patience was exactly what was needed. Patience exercised until precisely the right moment. The observation deck of the Memorial Park on Proxima Centauri offered a panoramic view of the colony's central district. What had once been a crisis zone now thrived as a hub of interspecies cooperation. The atmospheric towers, sleek structures that had replaced the sabotaged systems, maintained optimal environmental conditions while serving as a reminder of both betrayal and resilience. Hilaris studied the cityscape with an expression that mixed humility with wonder. The former Eldar High Counselor had requested this meeting after years of self-imposed isolation following the Concord's dissolution. Age had softened his once rigid features, but his eyes retained their penetrating quality. Your people rebuilt impressively, he observed as Admiral Tanaka joined him at the railing. I would not have predicted such rapid recovery. The advantage of collaborative approaches, Tanaka replied without rancor. The Mizari atmospheric specialists and Voltar bioengineers contributed solutions we might not have developed independently for decades. Below them, a group of children, human and non-human, moved through the memorial gardens on an educational tour. Their guide, a young Eldar cultural liaison, explained the significance of the installation with animated gestures. The children listened attentively, unburdened by the historical tensions that had shaped their parents' generation. "I've spent these years studying human history," T. Laris admitted, his gaze following the school group. "Trying to understand how we so fundamentally misinterpreted your species. We categorized human adaptability as inconsistency, your diplomatic flexibility as weakness, your technological innovation as imitation. Cultural assumptions often become self-reinforcing," Tanaka observed. "Your civilization valued stability over adaptation for thousands of years. It was natural to view our different approach as inferior rather than complementary." Laris turned to face the Admiral directly. "Yet the most significant error was our misunderstanding of human patience. We believe you endured Concord restrictions because you lacked alternatives. We never considered that patience might be a strategic choice rather than a passive necessity." In the distance, a diplomatic shuttle prepared for departure to Ta City, where the Cooperative Scientific Council was evaluating a newly discovered spacefaring species. The standardized protocols developed over the past decade ensured that first contact would occur with mutual respect rather than the hierarchical imposition that had characterized Concord expansion. "My species prided itself on long-term thinking," T. Laris continued, his voice carrying a hint of irony. "Yet we failed to recognize that humans were engaged in a patience game measured in generations. While we congratulated ourselves on maintaining dominance, you constructed the foundation for its inevitable transformation." The conversation paused as Elena joined them, her formal cooperative attire indicating she had come directly from an official function. She acknowledged T. Laris with professional courtesy, neither ignoring their troubled history nor allowing it to define their current interaction. "The Seratin restoration project has exceeded projections," she informed Tanaka. "Their civilization is recovering from the ecological sabotage more rapidly than anticipated. Their representatives have requested full membership in the cooperative. This development, a species rising from near extinction to rejoin the galactic community, represented perhaps the most profound rebuke to the Perpetuity Directorate's centuries of manipulation. We believed patience to be passive," T. Laris reflected, more to himself than his companions. "In reality, it was humanity's most disciplined weapon, deployed with precision when the moment demanded action." As the setting sun cast long shadows across the memorial park, the three figures, former adversaries now engaged in cautious cooperation, watched the next generation move through gardens planted where children had once suffered. The legacy of human patience had transformed not just political structures, but the very nature of interspecies relationships throughout known space. "The philosophers of my youth taught that power inevitably corrupts," T. Laris observed. "Yet humanity gained unprecedented influence and used it to create systems that limited your own authority as much as others. This paradox continues to challenge our understanding." Elena's response was simple. "Perhaps true strength isn't the capacity to dominate, but the wisdom to refrain when you could."